Hey, come here, come here, come here. Yeah. Focus, focus. Good, good. You need to focus on God. You have a real focus issue. We as human beings constantly are distracted by the world. We are distracted by our jobs. We are distracted by ourselves. We are distracted by friends, family. But ultimately, we sometimes distract ourselves. Sorry about my voice. We distract ourselves from what God has for us. We are distracted by the world. And when you're distracted by the world, how are you supposed to hear God, see God, and want to desire God? See, one thing I know is when your heart is focused on something, let's say like a goal, you will put your full effort and your full focus and your full, mindset onto that thing. But from what I know is that when you are in different avenues and when you are different places and your mind can't focus, then that means you're going to have problems. You're going to have serious issues. When you don't focus on God, how are you supposed to see clearly? How are you supposed to hear God? Right? Because I know whenever I read my Bible and I'm very focused, right? I don't have, things in the background while I'm reading my word. I don't have noises in the background while I'm praying. I don't have anything else going on while I'm doing what I'm doing when it comes to God. If that is your clear focus, then that is your clear focus, right? Don't let anything distract you from it. But a lot of times, our issue is we are so locked into the wrong things. We are not locked into what God has in store for us. Right? We're not locked in to what God has ordained for us, where God wants us to be, where He wants us to be as far as our church home is involved, where He wants us to be when it comes to our careers, where He wants us to be when it comes to jobs, where He wants us to be when it comes to a business, where He wants us to be when it comes to friendships, relationships, healthy relationships, and not experiencing toxic relationships. God is going to ordain it, but you have to hear and listen. You cannot focus. You cannot focus. You were too distracted. You were too distracted by yourself. A lot of times, you know why we distract ourselves? Because we don't want to face the facts. And sometimes we don't want to face the truth, right? Because the truth hurts. The truth hurts a lot of times. We can't focus because something is throwing us off. We're not focused on the right things. When you're not focused on the right things, you're not going down a straight and narrow path that God has ordained. God did not ever promise, or God did not ever promise that there wouldn't be any bumps and bruises. But one thing He did ordain is the straight and narrow path, right? Straight and narrow path is going to have some obstacles, but it's still one straight narrow path to where we want to go, right? The thing is, we have to break down where we go wrong as far as our mindset. Focus, right? I was talking to one of my homeboys, and he told me he couldn't focus. We're playing basketball. He told me he couldn't focus on the game. He couldn't focus on playing basketball because other things were throwing him off. We're ruining his focus. We're ruining where his head was at, right? And ultimately, it took his head out of the game and took his confidence out of him. And something I told him was, look, your issue is you're not just focused and you're not just hooping, you're not just being peaceful, you're not just playing. Your issue was you're focused on all the extracurriculars. You're not focused on the task at hand, which is winning the game. And see, that's the thing. We're not constantly focused on the goal instead of the obstacle, right? You must focus on the goal because your obstacles, those will come. Issues will come. Issues will come. You won't understand. Problems will always come, but they come and go. Goals are set. Remember when you set those goals in 2025 for 2025? Are you still doing them? Are you still focused on those goals? If they like getting closer to God, is that still a number one goal for you? Right? That's the thing. People don't set these goals, then they stop focusing on them. I'm not going to not be focused on my goals. I'm not going to be distracted. I cannot allow the world to distract me. No more am I going to allow the world to distract me. I must have a clean mind. I must have a focused heart to desire God more, you have to tell yourself this, and you have to pray for yourself as well. You have to pray to God and ask Him for a clear heart, clarity, focus, strength, right? Through any temptation, through any hardship, through any distraction, you have to allow God to move these distractions, remove these distractions, and also allow yourself to not be distracted. Because at the end of the day, you still have free will, right? And you get to choose where your focus is, ultimately. Because God knows where your focus should be, but oh yeah, because you know yourself the best, I guess. You're going to choose what you get to focus on. You're going to choose. Don't choose wrong. Don't choose wrong, because that's the worst thing you can do. Choose wrong. I'm not saying you can't learn from it, because life is an experience of learning from your mistakes and learning to do better and to choose better and to all the above. But your issue is you're not focused on God. I don't know if it's because you're lazy. I don't know if it's because you fall into the wayside, you've fallen away from God. I don't know if it's because you think you can't get your relationship back with God. Because yes, you can lose your relationship with God. You can. I've seen Christians who've come to the body, right, and then they just fall away, and the relationship is destroyed. It's a two-way street, bro. Can't be in and out. You can't. So you have to choose. But at the end of the day, you have to focus your heart on God's plan. God's plan. Not Draco's plan, not Susie's plan, not Susan's plan, not Jeremy's plan, not whoever Matthew's plan, not Matthew's plan. His plan only. His plan. See, an issue I see us face in 2025 when it comes to focusing on God is that we have these phones, we have these social media, we have these satanic books, we have these satanic social media accounts, we have satanic energy all around us in this world. There's a lot of satanic vibes going around. I don't like it. I don't like it. God doesn't like it. Idolatry is at another all-time high, right? We give praise to objects and people. There's a lot of reasons why we can't focus on God. It's because maybe another reason is because you put other things on a pedestal above God. Because whenever you put something above God, your focus isn't going to be on God. That's just common sense. If your focus is on something else, that means your focus is not on Him. If your focus is on pleasing yourself, your focus isn't on pleasing God. If your desires are on what you want for your life instead of what God wants for your life, you're focused on what you want and not what God wants. It is like 2 + 2 = 4, right? If you got 2 apples, right, and then you got 2 oranges, you add them together about how much fruit you have, that's 4 total pieces of fruit. It's literally common sense, but a lot of times we fall to the wayside and we forget why, we can't search for our purpose in God, at all. Because our issues lie within ourselves. Our issues lie within our spiritual faith. Our issues lies in our spiritual life. Our issues lie in a place to where we don't understand ourselves. Because I think this is one thing I understand. When you start understanding yourself, that you don't know it all and that you can't control everything and that you can't do everything in your power to change your situation, then that's when you start depending on God more. Then you just throw your hands up, get on your knees, and just ask God and just talk to God. That's when you surrender. That's when you fully surrender to God. That's when you start noticing that He can just use your hands and your feet to do His will. You will notice a total difference. You will never force anything again. Nobody can distract you from your path with God. You'll always be in your word. Whenever you defend your faith, you'll be at your strongest, at your peak strength. And that peak strength can be elastic. You can still continuously grow in your faith. You can still go out, evangelize to other people about how great God is and who God is and how great He is, right? 2024, your focus was so off. Your focus was on that girl that treated you wrong, your family crisis, your relationships, maybe hardships you face, maybe depression, anxiety, laziness, um, uncertainty, like idolatry, adultery, fornication, a bunch of different stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that messed you up in 2024, and it might still be messing you up in 2025. But I know if you focus on what God has for you, nothing can distract you. Nothing is impossible for God. Nothing is too powerful and too too tough to overcome when it comes to God. You have to let him work within your life. The only way you can let him work is if you surrender, you trust him, you obey his word, you obey his commandments, and then you learn discipline in his faith, in the faith. You learn discipline. Because when when you keep experiencing things, especially not putting yourself in the fire and just throwing yourself in the fire because what the heck, throw yourself in there. But I'm saying when you continuously go through life, you'll realize how much you need God. It just becomes even more clear. You watch the news every single day, all these things that happen on the news, and you're not focused on God. You don't understand that everything's just continuously adding up, and it continuously reflects what the Bible talks about, what God talks about, what God speaks on, right? Wisdom, godly wisdom starts to become that much more important. Godly wisdom becomes more in abundance. You'll start learning discernment you never even had when you focused on God. There is a lot of great attributes that you can upgrade when you start relying and leaning on God. I don't know who else is talking to you. I don't know who's in your circle. But if someone's not influencing you to focus on God in 2025, I think you need to watch and see who's in your circle. I'm not gonna lie. And if it's just you in your circle, it should be just you and God. That's it. Don't add anybody unnecessary. But anyway, I want to leave you with this. If your heart is set on one thing, if you have a habit in one thing, a lot of times it's hard to change bad habits. But make it a habit to focus your mind, to get your spiritual life right with God. Focus on what he has for you. Because he's not going to steer you wrong. He's not going to do you dirty. Because he wants what's best for you because he loves you and he cares about you. Thank you for watching. As always, God bless.